Greetings, Sanjay. I created an example of a for loop just like you described in your email. This will accomplish the thing I think you were trying to do, but in our experience, we'll occasionally have to do a for loop in a program, but it just doesn't come up that often in flowchart-based programs. When I'm writing in other languages, maybe C, for instance, I'll use for loops all the time, but it's just not a common occurrence with the flowcharting. So I'd really be curious what you're actually using this for. So I try to keep the nomenclature very similar to what you were doing. I've got my index. I've got it's going to be E. I've got my my array of values that we're using for our equation. They're T. I've got an array of 6 of them, and they're I32s. And you were curious when you were doing the copy state. I'm sure you were when you're talking about the 0 and 1 being passed into them, them being bits. Don't worry about that. They're all converted to the correct to the data type on the right side as the copy occurs. So even though it says bit here and it says UI8, these are all 32-bit numbers stored on the items on the right side. That's just indicating what the minimum data type would be to store that. So you're fine in that case. So I'm going through this for loop 5 times, or as long as the value is less than 6. So it'll start out with a value 0. So that'll actually be a total of 6 times, I believe. What I've got, there's one step that was probably not obvious inside the math blocks when you're indexing your array. You might have been trying to do an n plus 1. We don't let you do equations inside of the indices. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm creating that n plus 1. I'm just calling it k in this case, and then I'm doing my interval of the index n is equal to t at index k minus t of index n. So that's doing t of n plus 1 minus t of n. That's the same thing you were talking about. And the next thing I do is I increment my index, and then the whole point of this copy here is just so that you can see while we're in debug mode, you can see the different values that that are resulting from this equation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have an easy way on the screen to show you it. So I will program this PLC. I'll switch it to debug mode, and then I'm going to go to value mode so we can watch it as we step through. So I'm going to step through n is equal to 0, and you'll see it should be 1 minus 0 is what will be stored in this after this step. So that's going to be 1. We're incrementing our index to 1 now, and you can see the 1 is in that the first register. And then, okay, now n is equal to 1, so it's going to be the equation of 3 minus 1. So when I step through this, we should get a value 2, and we do. The index is now 2 because I incremented it by 1. We'll step again, and now we're going to be doing a 6 minus 3, so we should be getting a 3 in 2 steps here. There we go, we'll get a 3. And because we're doing a plus 1 operation, we'll get a 3-1 in the index as well. The next one, I think I set it up so it'll be a 4, and get a 4 there, and one more operation, and we get 5 because it was 15 minus 10. And then this is the last time. I think I actually had this set for one more than we wanted, one operation more. So I think at this point I'm using index 6, which is actually the 7th index, which I haven't initialized. So we're getting what equals 0 minus 15. We're getting some value here. So I made a slight mistake here. I probably should add this less than 5 to get us actually 5 rounds through it. Anyways, I think that does what you want, and then when it completed there, which I can step through real quick and show you, you'll see once it gets to value 5, it's done with this. So if I don't connect anything to this block, it'll force it back to the beginning. So you'll see it's stuck there now. It's not going through the loop anymore. So that does your for loop. Good luck.